You for staying with us. It's TVC Breakfast, the Friday edition, and so far it's been an interesting conversation after conversation. Let's take it further now, talking about the rapid development of the digital economy, which is bringing about significant changes in social and economic lives. There are now more free digital goods and services being provided to consumers, while AI and big data analysis technologies are enabling more targeted product recommendations, leading to more efficient connections between sellers and buyers. During this year's United Nations Summit, the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, identified the high cost of internet services and property rights as limiting factors for the digital economy. He also emphasized the need to revolutionize this economy and said President Tinubu's administration is fully supportive of this initiative. We have joining us now via Zoom news editor Tech Cabal Gani Olorun-Tade. Thanks a lot for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Let's begin with your assessment of how well the Tinubu administration has fared. Recall that before. During the campaigns, the intense campaigns, there was, significant mention of plans to revamp this economy. In your opinion now, how has it been? How much of an impact would you describe?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I would say that it's a very tricky question because it's just a year for the government in question, and not much of assessment can really be done within that short time frame. And of course, I'm not an economist, so I can only speak to what has happened in the digital economy, where we play as an ecosystem. I would say that we've seen a major shift in terms of the stance of the government around the digital economy, and particularly from the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. We've seen a number of projects and initiatives that are targeted about unlocking that economy. And this is a critical part of our economy because it sits at the center of young people. It's an industry that can unlock economic prosperity for people, that can unlock a lot of jobs. And as the fact that even the government of the day has plans to create 1 million jobs, when you look at all of this, what you get is that there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot more that has to be done on the end of the government as regards to what can we do to improve this digital economy, what can we do to essentially make things much more better for people. So not much has really happened per se, but we've seen some level of intentionality, which I think it's a good starting point, and we're looking forward to see what the next couple of years hold.
Nigeria actually has seen a steady rise in internet penetration, but then high internet costs has actually affected especially the rural and underserved communities. So what exactly would you consider the reason for this, and how is this affecting the Nigeria's drive, or the Nigerians' ambition for a digital economy?
Thank you. That's a very good question. We cannot deny the fact that the cost of internet in Nigeria is expensive. There are quite a number of reasons that are responsible for that. If you look at what is happening, particularly in the telco industry, with the operating costs of telcos that have continued to rise, also these companies are taking FX volatility, they're dealing with FX volatility, they're dealing with increased taxes, and you expect that commonsensically that risk is passed on to people. And we also need to understand the fact that there is a fundamental problem of broadband infrastructure. We don't have enough broadband infrastructure in Nigeria. I know that the Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy is working around that. There's a plan to lay 90,000 kilometers of fiber cables, but it's still at best long term. So when we look at the state of the industry itself, we look at the problem of infrastructure. We look at the fact that the telcos are facing increasing costs and also taxes. and the need for them to pass on, the risk to somebody, because at the end of the day, these are businesses that are meant to make profit. So if the market is not exactly favorable for them, they have to find a way to make the money regardless. So I think the most important thing that this will remind us of is the fact that there is a lot more that has to be done, particularly on the infrastructure side of things. And all of this still boils down to what governments can do to, scale up infrastructure, what governments can do to support the telco industry. And, people also getting enlightened about what the real issues are. And we see what the problems are. We see what needs to be done and what needs to change. So we'll have a much more better digital economy.
Right. There's also been the talk about the impact of, people have said shrinking purchasing power in the country. They've also spoken about the impact of, the currency fluctuations here and there. How would you measure the impact these have had on the digital space?
The truth of the matter is there is significant impact because internet powers a lot of things. Internet powers literally the digital economy. There's no digital economy without the infrastructure, and what sits at the center of that infrastructure is the internet. So it has a lot of impact on businesses because when you look at the operating cost that continues to rise, it just adds additional layer of problems for businesses. You're dealing with inflation, you're dealing with a very tough macroeconomic condition, and the internet, which is supposed to also power your business, is also, very expensive. And so you just see that it's a multitude of problems, and it has significant impact because it slows down the level of innovation that we're supposed to see, because when operating costs continue to rise, businesses cannot do as much as they would want to, and people cannot create as much value that they want to create to unlock economic prosperity for people. So it's just a very tough situation generally, because it affects not just individuals, just also businesses, and all of these things obviously in the long run affect how much of contribution that the economy can also make to the Nigerian economy as a whole.
Talking about digital infrastructure expansion, you can't remove the hands or the role of private sectors. They actually play a very significant role, but then there are concerns about monopolistic pricing and lack of competition in certain regions. So what exactly do you think the government can actually do in terms of policy frameworks that it can bring on board to ensure that internet service providers need to drive down the cost of internet pricing and still maintaining a high quality service?
Thank you. I would say that it's a rather dicey situation because when we call for telcos to reduce internet prices, the question should be, why was internet prices that expensive in the first place? And there's some of the things that I mentioned earlier that there are critical infrastructural gaps like this. There's also the fact that the operating costs of these businesses have also significantly increased. They are dealing with FX volatility. But certainly there is a case to be made for what can the government do. And I think a major thing that has to really change is if people are going to pay for expensive internet, the least that could happen is that the internet has to be of the best quality. So there is a serious conversation that has to be held with telcos as regards to how do we significantly improve internet quality. Of course, this still spirals back to the infrastructure, but how much of collaboration needs to happen? How much of serious engagement needs to happen between the telcos and the government? Because the government is trying to solve the problem on the infrastructure side of things. And how exactly can the telcos also key into all of this? And we find a meeting ground, and we're able to deliver quality internet to Nigerians and at a reasonable cost. But it's a rather dicey situation because the businesses are looking to make money themselves, and the regulator in this case, the government is also looking to protect people from paying high internet costs. But there has to be a middle ground. At the end of the day, we have to find a way to balance the need for businesses to make their own profit and reduce operating costs, and also the need for the regulator to protect the average Nigerian to get access to quality internet.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about digital lending and the prospects of fintechs amidst more and more scrutiny that we are also seeing on the part of government. What are your thoughts?
I would say that it's very important that we're seeing government rise to the occasion with regards to unethical practices of some digital lenders, because lending is a key part of the economy. A lot of people need access to financing. Small businesses need access to credit, and this is the gap that fintechs and digital lenders are filling. But regardless of that, we've seen that people have sort of told the rough patch, by having rather unethical loan collection practices. We've seen all sorts of things happen. I'm sure that we're very familiar with these things, and it just calls for more action on the hands of on the part of the government, because this is an industry that has potential to really change things for people, particularly when we look at the microeconomic condition of our country. People need access to credit, so we would not allow some sort of, let me say, bad players, ruin the reputation of the industry that can actually change things. So it's good that we're seeing more action. I know that the FCC has been doing a lot around that. More of that has to happen. There's a lot of sanity that is required in that industry, because lending is critical. People need access to financing, but just because of that, we cannot just allow any kind of people or all kinds of players to be playing the market and just do all kinds of things and get away with it. So much more sanity is required, and it's very important that all the relevant government agencies, live up to the occasion and fit out the bad element and bring sanity to that system.
Well, talking about digital lending, sometimes you also see some kind of data breach. For instance, you receiving unsolicited messages, asking you to take loans, some unsolicited calls from these digital lenders, asking you to come take loans and all of that. And be wondering, how did you get my number? I didn't just, put up my number out there for you to, to utilize. So how do you think we are protecting our data for this kind of people not to access it? And what is I don't know who is regulating this. Do the regulators doing to ensure that people are not harassed? Because I'm not taking loans, so why you send me messages and you use different numbers to call me and harass the life out of me?
I'm glad that you mentioned that. So there's a National Data Protection Commission, NDPC, whose role is to protect data. We also have an act on data protection in Nigeria that also essentially establishes how data can be used, who have access to data, the question of consent, fines, and all of that. And we've seen that on the part of the regulator, some very important action has been taken. A couple of months back, we saw that the NDPC fined a major bank as regards to data breach. So when we see these things at play, it gives us a level of confidence that the regulator really cares about protecting data. Obviously, we need much more action that has to happen because we have a serious data breach problem in Nigeria, and we've seen this thing play out a lot of times, and literally across all phases of life, from banking to literally anything. And I can relate to that as well, because sometimes you get also the calls from people that you don't know, and you wonder where they got your number from. But it is also a case to be made for education as regards to data protection on the part of the individuals, because what we realize is that a lot of people give out their data freely, and it happens a lot in Nigeria. We go to somewhere, they ask you to fill your data, you write your name, you write your phone number, you write your email, and later you're surprised that you're getting. So there's a question to be made for how this information is being used. But you as an individual, I feel like it's also very important that we protect our data. We are conscious enough of who we're handing our data to, and we're also conscious enough of what the law says as regards to data protection and what the regulator can do to protect us.
Right, and okay, so this space that we're talking about, comes with so many opportunities, but then experts will also tell you it comes with even I don't know, more challenges, or depending on where you stand, especially now that, jobs remain an issue in Nigeria, the availability of jobs, we are told, The internet is the next big thing. You can be in Nigeria and be working for multiple clients abroad without having to leave the country. So, looking at that now, how, complex or how much of an allure the digital space is, how would you, balance the concerns people are also having regarding the challenges in the system?
The fact of the matter is challenges always exist. And I would say that because we've been able to demonstrate that we can build something out of, regardless of how challenging situations have been, we've seen that particularly with the tech ecosystem, how we've been able to unlock a lot of opportunities, have been able to unlock an entire economy that's created, thousands of jobs for people, regardless of what the challenges. You see, the infrastructure is still there. The talent gap is still a problem. But regardless, we've been able to significantly impact the economy. We've been able to significantly unlock opportunities for people. I am very optimistic about the future of the digital economy because this is an industry that sits at the heart of young people. And anybody who knows the numbers knows that we have a lot of young people in Nigeria, and there's a need for to provide opportunities for these people. There's a need to unlock opportunities for them. There's a need to empower them, to give them capacity, create jobs, to, make them financially independent and all of that. So, and digital economy offers that opportunity because the tech industry, for instance, it's a low barrier industry. You don't need so much.
That's right.
Anybody can learn tech if you put your mind to it and you have the resources. And you learn the tech skill, you get a job, and you get paid for your job. You're able to create economic prosperity for yourself. So it's an interesting conversation because regardless of these challenges, we've been able to show some level of resilience, and that's why some of us that play in the space were very bullish, we're very optimistic about the future of digital economy in Nigeria because it is going to significantly change things, because it has changed things already, and we have the opportunity to do so much more. Then the bigger question will now be, what do we need to do? What does the industry need to do? What does the government need to do to support the growth of the entire economy? And that's why it's interesting that the Vice President, for instance, spoke about what needs to be done. It shows some level of consciousness on the part of the government. Then the bigger question would be, what is our strategic plan? I know that there's a digital economy bill. A lot has been happening on the end of the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy. And there's just been like a lot of conversations happening, really. But there's so much more that has to be happening as regards to what needs to be done practically to move things forward. What sort of engagement has to exist with the private sector to scale the future of this economy that can really change things forward.
All right. Ganiu Oloruntoba, news editor, Tech Cabal, thanks a lot for your contributions.
Thank you for having me.